Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pamela Roth Live. Today is Monday, August 10th, and we are here to speak with all of you about Emily's bracelets. So, welcome everybody for joining us tonight. Tonight's guest is PJ Morrissey, and PJ, if you're there, please join us. And PJ is going to speak with us about his sister Emily and all about Emily's bracelets. So, thank you everybody tonight for joining.
Hi, Pamela. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's so nice to meet you in person. We did speak, a little bit beforehand about you and your sister. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm very, very happy to see you and meet with you. So, as we were discussing, we're going to speak about your sister Emily. And as you had mentioned to me, your sister is older than you. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And by how many years?
4 years.
And you just told me you just turned 20, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And you and Emily the only brothers and sister, or any other
Yes.
siblings?
Nope. It's just me and Emily.
And there is your sister Emily. It's so nice. It's a pretty girl too.
Thank you.
And where did two of you reside?
We are located in Richmond, Virginia.
Hmm. And Emily has cerebral palsy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Was she diagnosed with that from birth or sometime after?
It was sometime after. They knew she was gonna have something. Due to the complications that she had at birth. She had a lack of oxygen to her brain, again due to complications, and at the time they didn't know necessarily the extent of what her special needs were going to be. So it wasn't until a little bit further down the road in the journey that my parents found out and that she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Now, are there different levels of cerebral palsy?
So cerebral palsy affects everybody different. Everybody who has it differently. Like for Emily, it's both her gross and fine motor skills, as well as her cognitive function. So uh, she has difficulty walking by herself in unfamiliar areas. And educationally, she's at about a kindergarten level. Um, However, she interacts with us on an very adult level, even with that kindergarten level education. So there are different types of cerebral palsy. I've met a couple of Emily's friends or Special Olympic athletes where it only affects them physically, or only affects them mentally, and it's just different. For I don't know all the different kinds off the top of my head, but yes, there are different categories.
So the category that your sister Emily has it affected her both, like you said, her motor skills and speech skills?
And cognitive function, yes. So, like I said, she functions at about a kindergarten level. So, she can count to 10 primarily. And so she can do things like, look at her analog watch and see that the big hand is pointed to the 8 and say that it's 8 o'clock. Whereas she would go to a store and, see a price tag and not necessarily understand what that means, and can't do math or read on her own, things like that. However, she is able to speak and carry conversations, and is actually has quite a good sense of humor, actually.
I remember I was watching one of your earlier interviews with Tim Sutton, and Tim was a previous guest on our show.
Uh huh.
And I understand that one of the things that you had mentioned to Tim was that your life with your sister Emily is very entertaining, and
Yes.
it would be like a virtual TV family, that all of you keep each other entertained, as well as Emily being very entertaining and funny with all of you.
Yes. Yes, we have a lot of inside jokes, which comes with our special family dynamic, and it's really great because you know some people might think that our family dynamic is different than others, and in some ways it is, but in other ways it's not, and we joke around and have a good time and fight like a regular family, and Emily joins in on all of it. you know uh I make fun of her and she makes fun of me, and we poke at each other in the back seat of the car and on long car rides and things like that, and she's not afraid to get started with me as my big sister and put me in line. So yeah,
So you have what's considered a typical brother and sister
exactly,
relationship.
exactly. Yep.
I'm one of three. I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Uh huh.
And much like you being the younger brother and me being the younger sister, there are so many times that I've taken charge and I've basically considered myself the older sister to both my brothers.
Right.
And I've challenged them and poked fun at them as well. So now, one of the things that I learned about you is that at the age of 14, you wrote your first book.
Yes, ma'am.
And how did that come about? That's a fascinating story.
So that was from an English project. My teacher had assigned us a paper, and uh, the goal was to pick a word and write a different definition for it than in the dictionary, and stand by your definition and explain it throughout the paper. And so I chose the word disabled, and I basically said that there are no disabilities, there are just different kinds of abilities. Everybody just does things in different ways, and that's kind of where that first book stemmed from. After completing the assignment, I uh, went back and kind of kept going with my thoughts, and that's kind of how that book came about and grew around that paper.
So at age 14, the word that you chose was disabled or disability, having to do with your sister Emily.
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the name of that book?
It was called Different.
And is that available?
Yes, it is available on Amazon.
Now, how did your sister feel? How did Emily feel about that book that you wrote? Did you discuss it with her or read it to her?
Um, now that I think about it, I'm sure one of my parents has read it to her, but I never sat down and read it to her. But she was very proud, and with everything that's come out of this journey and Emily's bracelets, she's always very proud of herself and the rest of us, and it shows through her smile and her sense of pride and confidence. So uh, that's another great reward for things like this.
And you wrote a second book after that?
Yep, it called Changed.
And what did that topic consider for the book changed?
So that was, I went back a couple years later after different and still had some unfinished thoughts. And so I wrote about how having a sibling with different abilities changed me as a person, and how that experience shaped me into who I am today.
In your relationship with your sister, as well as these books, have you come to see that there is such a stigma, a negative stigma, associated with different disabilities such as cerebral palsy and other challenges that people have, such as Emily?
You know, um, That's a great question, and that's something that I have been seeing and dealing with entire life, the past 20 years growing up with somebody with special needs, you're going to be exposed to that special needs community and everything that comes with it. And of course, there's always going to be that negative stigma. And, um, it's oftentimes hard. And it wasn't until very recently that it, um, stopped bothering me so much. But, it really depends on the environment you're in. And so, I would say that, that negative stigma exists more in, like environments such as high schools or, some different workplaces, things like that. And, a lot of it is just due to misunderstanding, not completely understanding somebody's challenges, or different abilities. And yeah, so that I've seen a lot of it. And I know my parents can attest. There's been a handful of times that I've come home from school enraged because somebody was making fun of somebody in my sister's class, or um, you know, expressing their ignorance towards the special needs community.
That's a great word for it, because that's the same word I was going to use, and it comes from ignorance and a lack of understanding, a lack of
Right,
compassion. And
right.
of course, we're dealing on so many levels right now with people's levels of ignorance.
Uh-huh.
And it's unfortunate, because I know in the past I've actually seen it myself in shopping malls or online in places. And if there is an individual, even an adult or a young adult, a child who has special needs, and they're either in a wheelchair, or they have like the crutches and they're trying to walk,
Right.
or trying to speak and have a speech impediment, so many people are in such a rush to criticize them and get frustrated without
Exactly.
without without trying to understand that maybe this person is frustrated because they can't express themselves the way
Right.
we're so accustomed to.
Exactly.
And to me, it's just very unfortunate. I've had the opportunity to meet with a number of people in my life at
Hmm.
various levels and ages with various special needs, including there was a school when I was. I'll tell you this: when I was in college, I
Uh-huh.
was bio pre med, and they had the school had arranged for us to go to this facility for thalidomide babies. And we walked in there, not really, I really had no idea what it was that I was going to see. And there were so many children in there, teenagers and young adults, who were missing body parts, fingers. And a lot of it came from the fact that their mother, when they were pregnant, when the moms were pregnant, were exposed to or had thalidomide,
Uh-huh.
which multiple birth defects,
Right.
to the point where, like I said, missing arms and legs. And these kids and these young adults were in the pool swimming, or like you said, Special Olympics, in their wheelchairs, and they're playing basketball, and they're doing everything that we do when we have all of our
Right.
abilities and all of our arms and legs and limbs and
Right.
senses.
Yep.
And after I walked out that day, for things that we consider, like when we wake up in the morning, we have a bad day, like I'm having a bad hair day. Oh, I broke my nail. I'm thinking to myself, any one of these individuals would love to have
Exactly.
such simple, basic problems that we consider to have
Exactly.
a bad day. And it really opened up my eyes to say, like, wow, what I consider to be a bad day, these individuals have to live with day in and day out.
And that's what says a lot and is very impressive, because you never see these individuals harping on that, or saying like, woe is me, yeah, this is harder for me than you, and give me a break. It's always, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability, and I'm going to do everything I can to learn how to do it better and
Right.
independently. And that is something that I have not only seen from Emily, for my entire life, but also at the Special Olympics and in her classes in the classroom, things like that. And it's really inspiring.
It's extremely inspiring because you're right. You never see people, such as Emily, such as your sister, or anybody else that has special needs, complaining about their life.
Right.
In fact, they go on to do, even the most basic things that we do, for them to be challenged and to be able to accomplish it, that is a major hurdle for them, and that is such an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Even if it's something, so like I said, something that we do every single day, whether it's reading or
Yep.
learning math or looking to do something and create with their hands, like your sister does with the bracelets, and then to go on to do Special Olympics, it's almost like, I'll show you that I can do it.
Right.
And at some point in time, they actually do things better than any of us, because it's
Exactly.
so determined to prove to you that I could do it. Like, they don't want pity. Don't feel pity for me,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
So your sister really is a heroine, not a hero, because she's a girl. So tell us about the bracelets. How did this come about?
Sure. So, uh, back in 2018, Emily and I had finally gone to the same school together. Our entire lives, we had never been in the same school.
Right,
Uh, it just so happened that my freshman year of high school aligned with the 4-year program or I'm sorry, the 8-year program that she was in. And as she was starting the second half, I was starting my freshman year. So we actually ended up graduating the same year, which was very cool. Also, so she, through that 8-year program, the first 4 years was uh, educationally based. And so they would learn things such as skills like counting money, things like that. And then that second half of the 8-year program, they would be sent out into the workforce to apply those skills and see where they fit best in what roles and occupations they flourished in. And so Emily had been doing that, and the special education teachers didn't put a whole ton of effort into it, almost like they didn't care. But so Emily wasn't enjoying it, and she would get up every day when she would have to go into these workplaces and just dread it, and she would be in a terrible mood, just like anybody who has to go um to work, to somewhere to work where they don't want to. And I didn't even realize this at the time, but now that I've grown older and matured some more, it really does blow to have to go into a job that you don't want to and that you don't enjoy. And I think it was really unfortunate that she experienced that. And so, um, anyways, to combat that, we thought of what uh, harnesses Emily's um, skill set and her passion. What is something that she could do for a business, so that she doesn't have to be in these job places that she's not enjoying after high school. And making bracelets is something that Emily's been doing her entire life. Like I said, uh, it took some time before she was diagnosed, but once she did receive that diagnosis, she um, was launched into all kinds of therapy, physical, occupational, speech, all of that. And through occupational therapy, they had her stringing large wooden beads onto pipe cleaners, to sharpen those fine motor skills in the fingers, to give her more range with her fingers.
right, more dexterity.
Exactly. Yep.
Mhm.
And so she had been doing that, and then she progressed onto elastic string and smaller beads, smaller pony beads. And she had been doing that her entire life, making them for us, her immediate family, extended family, family friends. Um, and, it was just bracelets out of a kit that somebody would give her for her birthday or something. And it would be around Christmas time or another holiday, and she would make these bracelets for us. And um, it made her incredibly happy to give them to us, and then to see how happy the bracelets made us. And part of that is that it was made by Emily, and she put all her effort, her whole heart into it, and it's a creation that she's proud of and proud to give to somebody else, and proud to see that it makes their life better, even if it's just by this much. Um,
I'm sure it made her happy to see other people happy.
exactly, exactly, and so it kind of clicked. We had the idea, let's use these abilities to make these bracelets, and her passion for making people smile. Um, and we created Emily's bracelets and launched on October 1st, 2018. We uh, I built her website, emilysbracelets.com, as well as her all of her social media channels. And that first day that we launched, we were super excited when the first order came in, and then as they kept coming in, the excitement just kept building, and I think we were a little bit shocked. And it was definitely crazy to see the support, not just from like family and friends, but their family and their friends, and from all over the country. And it was just amazing. So that's how Emily's bracelets came about.
Well, I have a question for you. Emily started making this by herself
Uh-huh.
initially. Okay? How long did it take for her to complete one bracelet?
That's a good question. So when when she was doing them by herself, she was doing individual bracelets. So it would take her, I don't know an exact number. I would say now she can do an individual bracelet in 2 minutes or less, easy.
Wow.
Yeah. Whereas back then it may have been closer to 5-ish minutes. And that some things have changed also. When we started, we were making the bracelets individually, based on the design on the website. um, and then we quickly realized that that was not going to work. So what we do is, we get this big long elastic string and give Emily bowls of the beads that she needs to string for the bracelet, and she sits on the couch and watches TV and beads all until the long string is completely filled up. So she can knock one of those long string. Yep, there she is
I
right
did a
there.
long string.
Yep. So, yeah, she can knock one of those out pretty fast, and she doesn't even have to fully pay attention, and which is amazing, and uh, uh, makes the time go by even quicker for her. So.
So, with all the orders that you've been getting, is she still the only one who's making it, or does Emily have assistance from you, family, or other people, like little minions helping her?
So Emily is the primary bracelet maker, but we do help out in the background. So Emily designs and creates all the bracelets and all of that, and we do other things, such as quality control and things like that. So my mom is in charge of quality control, and so she will take the orders from our database and print them out, and then go to the long string that Emily made, pull it out of our inventory, and cut it to the length that the person ordered, and then tie it, since that's not something that Emily can exactly do. um, she cuts it, puts a tag on it, and ties it. And so she gets all the bracelets pulled from inventory for all of the orders, and gets them all set up. And then my dad is in charge of shipping. So he will come and take all of the order numbers that my mom has put together, and go upstairs and print all of the shipping labels for them, and then package them. And then he also does uh, the other behind the scenes stuff, the finances and taxes and things like that. And then I do all of the social media, the website management, and customer support, all of that. So it really is a entire family effort.
That's what I was
Which,
going to say. It sounds like it's a total family affair for Emily.
yep, exactly, yep.
She must be loving this, that all of you are together supporting her on this.
Yes, yes, she has loved this, and I think if you had told any of the four of us that we would be where we are today, back when we started, that we would laugh at you. None of us were expecting to make this much of an impact and sell these many bracelets, and I honestly don't. None of us expected the impact it would have on Emily either. When this first started, we gained a lot of local media attention from one of our now close friends, who has an afternoon radio show in our area, as well as the other local news syndicates, and you know that on top of knowing that she was making all these bracelets for everybody gave her a larger sense of pride than she had before. And she would go to school and come home, and um, her teacher would say to us, like, Emily, that well, we've seen a big difference in Emily. She stands up straighter, sits up straighter. She volunteers in class, raises her hand, offers comments during discussion and things like that. Um, and this is coming from a girl who had previously been diagnosed with selective mutism. So hearing that as her family is amazing, and of course it has spilled over into our personal lives as well. She doesn't hold back talking to anybody. She I talk about this in my book a little bit, but she doesn't judge anybody. You know, by just looking at them. She doesn't judge a book by its cover, and um, you could be random Joe Schmo walking down the street, and she would introduce herself and say, "Oh, I'm Emily, and I make these bracelets, and my brother made a website for me." And um, so, uh, yes, it has had a large impact on Emily, much larger than we had originally thought, and that's uh, been a great um, product of this, which is amazing.
Well, to quote your book that you wrote, your second book, Changed, and you said that that book had to do with how you changed and your family changed based upon everything with your sister. I think now if you have another version of that come out, maybe, Change Part 2, you can describe all the changes and the impact that this has had on Emily herself, because it sounds like she has come out of her shell. She's gained a great amount of self-esteem, uh,
Absolutely.
pride about herself and her
Yep.
accomplishments, as well as a lot of courage to come out of her shell and start approaching people.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
thanks to you and your family, and this has really changed her because she sounds like a very courageous young businesswoman.
She is. Yes, she is.
So now, how much are the bracelets and where can they be purchased?
So the bracelets range all the way from $5 to $12 is our most expensive bracelet, and they can be found at emilysbracelets.com. She has all different collections. Some examples are we actually just re-released the glass bead bracelet collection, which is very popular. We also have the wooden bracelets, the casual bracelets, different awareness bracelets, all kinds of bracelets on the website that she's designed and put together, and that you can have for yourself. And The best way to keep up with Emily and with new bracelet designs and releases is by following us on social media. So you can find us, Emily's Bracelets, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We post on there all the time. So
Oh, very nice, because I will follow you.
awesome. Thank you.
Let me ask you something. I know in speaking with you and reading about you, you're involved, you and Emily and Emily's Bracelets are involved in the Special Olympics. How had that come about?
So the Special Olympics is very special to us. It's something that we had never heard of before we moved to Virginia. And
Where are you originally from, if you don't mind me asking?
Emily and I are from Florida, and primarily grew up in northern New Jersey. And we moved to Virginia almost 10 years ago now. And The Special Olympics was presented to Emily as an opportunity through her special education class, and we really had no idea what it was and what it entailed. Um, but it sounded interesting and it sounded inclusive, so we gave it a shot, and Emily loved it, and the rest of us loved it, and so we've been a part of the Special Olympics ever since. Emily is a pro at bocce ball, and yes, she loves bocce ball. She also participates in the softball throw and sometimes the javelin. Although she's primarily been focusing on bocce ball in the recent years, I think that's her sport. Um,
Now,
uh,
is Emily mobile on her own, or does she have to use any device to help her walk, like a wheelchair, or anything else?
so she is mobile on her own, and she can sh part of one of the struggles that she has, a part of her cerebral palsy, is that she doesn't necessarily have very good, if any at all, depth perception. So that makes it difficult for her in unfamiliar places and on environments with lots of stairs or step ups or step downs, and so she can walk around by herself generally well, especially in a familiar environment like our house. And so she uh, One of her legs is longer than the other one. So she wears a brace on one of them to provide some support. But even without the brace, she can walk around by herself. And it's only in the scenarios where we're going to be doing a lot of walking or standing where we'll put her in a wheelchair. Like we found in airports, it's way easier to have her in her wheelchair.
So
Um,
not for walking otherwise, and
right,
away from the
exactly.
airport.
Yeah. And she doesn't necessarily walk the best. With she has some balance issues, so being knocked into in a busy airport probably wouldn't go over well. So uh, it really just depends on where we are and what the situation is. But yes, most of the time she can walk by herself, or even with just one of us holding her hand.
Now, when you created this Emily's Bracelets, what role does Emily have? Is she the president of it? She's a CEO or something?
She is the chief bracelet maker, and yes, she is the president and CEO. She does try to flex her power sometimes. If we get on her nerves, she does. I know, I believe my dad has been fired once before.
I
Um,
was gonna ask if you've been fired. I could just picture, from
I
my television show, and you're fired.
I don't think that I've been fired yet. But yes, my dad definitely has been fired before. Um, uh,
Was it easy for him to be rehired?
yes, it was very easy. Yes. Yep. Yep.
And how does Emily like her notoriety with the bracelets?
Oh, she loves it. I mean, she eats it up. I joke all the time that she's gonna get a big head from it, and I mean, she loves hearing Emily's bracelets and hearing her name and hearing how the exposure that it has everywhere. So yes,
So,
definitely.
as far as the exposure goes, aside from like say doing podcasts myself and with Tim Sutton, and you said with the local newspaper, how far has this traveled outside of the Virginia area?
All over the country. We have regular repeat customers from Hawaii who we always joke with. If they ever want in-person delivery, we'll be happy to bring them there. But yeah, I mean, all over the country. I've had the opportunity to do nationally syndicated radio shows, and those have been been very big for us. Driven a lot of customers, and from all over the country. I mean, um, we all get notifications on our phones when orders come in, and it's always cool when one of those faraway states pops up. So yeah, the reach has been more than we had ever thought.
Has Emily met other, girls and boys, or men and women who have cerebral palsy like her, and she's been able to be a role model for other individuals?
Emily, that's one of her the biggest things that she prides herself on is being a role model, and that was big for her when she was in school and became even larger for her in the last 2 years of school when she had become a part of Emily's bracelets. She, with new students entering her program or her class, she always offered, to be there or to say hello or just to be a friend or, if somebody had an episode during class one day where they were upset, she would console them and comfort them. And, we would always hear this from her teachers and her aides. And um, we've witnessed it a few firsthand a few times, and it's she's not necessarily intending to be a role model, but she's just always making herself there for somebody, and with the mindset of, hey, I've been through this before, and I know how this goes and how this feels. So I'm going to be here for you if you need me, and that's really special.
Well, that is. It's also a huge accomplishment for her.
Yes, yes, very much.
And I believe and agree with me if you can, that the launching of Emily's bracelets has helped her achieve those feelings.
Absolutely.
Because of all the recognition, and she feels a sense of like empowerment.
Yes, absolutely. That is, yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Definitely, empowerment. She, like, again, she loves helping people, and she loves, being just a small ray of sunshine for people on potentially a cloudy day.
Well, something, she's not only a ray of sunshine to other individuals who have special needs, she's really a ray of sunshine to all of us, especially to myself. I have to tell you, with
Thank
everything I've
you.
heard from you and everything I've read, she really is a very special, special young lady,
Thank
and
you.
you're very lucky to have a big sister like that you can take care of.
Yes, I agree. I'm very lucky.
As far as like these orders that you get, are they just from individuals? Are they from schools or foundations, or you tell me?
So we've had it from everywhere you just mentioned. Our most common is from individuals.
Hmm.
However, we have done tons of group orders, customized group orders. We've done bracelets for weddings, sports teams. We did baseball bracelets for our local minor league baseball team here in Richmond. We've done bracelets for nonprofits, like you mentioned, foundations, and you know different area charities and organizations, and uh, yeah, and with these supporting these other charities and organizations, a part of that, a part of those proceeds go to that organization and charity. So it's also an opportunity for us to give back at the same time, which is also amazing.
Now, can someone have, like, say, a party or a show and order bracelets and also raise money and donate it to Emily's bracelets? Like, say, a part of like ticket proceeds, for instance, would go to Emily's foundation, Emily's bracelets.
Um, I am gonna say I don't know the exact answer to that. I've never that my the CFO would be the one to ask about that one. But
Would that be your dad?
yes, exactly. Yes. It gets a little tricky with donations and taxes within LLC. So he would know the answer to that question.
I may have to speak to your dad off camera
Of
after
course.
the show. No, I would really, I know myself and my friends, I was discussing this. We would all love to order bracelets and, be part of, I want to be part of Emily's bracelets crowd. She's like the in crowd. I want to be part of this.
Thank you, thank you.
So who, like, when she makes bracelets, if it's not a special order, does she just choose what beads and colors, or
So
something? For?
in those collections on the website that we saw before, so people go in and they pick what bracelet they want and add it to their cart and what size
Right.
they want, and then she makes the bracelet based on what they ordered. So uh, at the beginning, it was a little more randomized, with bead patterns and stuff like that. Where, if you ordered a red, white, and blue bracelet, it might be like red, red, white, blue, red, white. Whereas now she is very, very good at red, white, blue, or purple, black, purple,
Right.
black. Um,
So she's
so
better now at actually creating and following a pattern.
Right, exactly. Yep. So that's just yet another skill that she's fine-tuned.
That's excellent.
Yep.
I'm so happy to finally meet with you and speak with you
Me
about this.
too. Thank
So
you.
please, everybody, tell everybody again about where we can find you, and Emily, your social media sites, and all about the website for Emily's bracelets.
Sure. So you can order bracelets and read all about Emily's bracelets at emilysbracelets.com. That's where you can order bracelets, like I said, and you can follow along with Emily and all of her new bracelets, all those kinds of announcements, as well as events in our area that we go to. We post updates about that on all of our social media. It's Emily's Bracelets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just I wanted to just make a correction because earlier in the evening when I was introducing you, I made an error. Today is August 8th, not August 10th.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
After I said it, I was like, wait a minute, like, what's today's date? It's August 8th. Because I know some of my friends and followers are gonna trip me up on that in private messages. Telling me it's like, Pam, it's August 8th. So I
Yep.
just want to put it out there. I know I corrected myself. You know, I was just, I'm forward thinking. I'm thinking
Yeah,
about what am I going to
exactly.
be doing on August 10th, and not realizing today's August 8th.
Yep.
But so do you have any more books in the works?
Um, Not at the moment. I'm not sure what I would write about. Um I always you know, go through something or have a story, and then I'm like, oh, I could write a book about this. And then it just falls to the wayside. But nothing necessarily planned in the near future.
Well, I have to make a suggestion to you. Okay. Being that those two books were written by you, I would make a suggestion that your next book be a joint. collaboration between you and your sister Emily,
That would be
and
very cool.
maybe a children's book about a little girl growing up and how she was a champion over her, we won't say disability, but different ability.
Yep.
And it would be as a children's book, and it would be very encouraging for children.
I like that. That's a great idea.
Definitely, you've got to credit me. I'm going to put something in front of the book. I'll put something in the forward.
Of course,
I
of
think, I
course.
think that would be really terrific. Now, does Emily go out, with you to any of the schools or different places to make like guest appearances?
Oh yeah, all the time. She gets invited to um all kinds of local events. People see her story and they say, "Oh, we're having a car show. If she wants to have a table, feel free to come out." And so we've gotten that down pretty well. And she enjoys going out and making appearances and meeting all of her fans.
Great.
We have a lot of people who come up to her and say like, "Oh my God, like I see you all the time on Facebook and hear about you on the radio, and it's so great to finally meet you." And they take pictures with her and everything, and it's just it's awesome.
Yeah, she
So
definitely is a role model and an inspiration.
yes,
So,
yes,
so just slip that by your sister and your parents that you should be working on a children's book for her.
okay, I will.
And next time when I'm planning on driving out to DC in the next couple months, I will get in touch with you ahead of time
Okay,
because I would like to drive over to Richmond. It's not that far, and drive into Richmond, Virginia. I would love to meet you and your family, and especially Miss Emily herself in person.
of course, yes, I would be
So,
happy to.
so I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I know tonight we're going to end a little early, only for the fact I'm like suppressing this really bad cough right now.
Well, I have to be in my recliner watching Better Call Saul by 9 o'clock, so it's fine with me.
Thank you, PJ, so much.
Of
Thank you,
course.
everybody,
Thank you
for
for
tuning
having me.
in tonight. And of course, thank you, Anthony, behind the scenes. And everybody, please stay tuned. And of course, anything else that you would like to learn about Emily, go to emilysbracelets.com and follow Emily and her adventures with her bracelet making on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.